Part 1. They say if you go looking for something, you'll find it. But I wasn't looking. It was late, past midnight. My wife had already fallen asleep beside me, her breath slow and steady. I had been lying there for hours, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. My mind was racing about work, bills, the usual worries that keep a man up at night. Then, her phone buzzed. It was just a small vibration, barely noticeable, but in the silence of the night, it sounded like a gunshot. I reached over, intending to move it to the nightstand so it wouldn't wake her. But just as I picked it up, the screen lit up, and I saw it. "I love you. When are we finally telling him the truth?" My stomach clenched. My hands tightened around the phone. I stared at the words, my brain struggling to make sense of them. I wasn't supposed to see that. I wasn't supposed to know. A part of me wanted to put the phone down, pretend I hadn't seen it, go back to sleep, and live in ignorance for just a little longer. But another part of me, the part that suddenly felt ice cold and alert, knew that I couldn't. I had to know. I swiped up, my heart pounding, the blood roaring in my ears. The lock screen required a passcode. I hesitated. I had never checked her phone before, never even considered it. We trusted each other. At least I thought we did. But trust doesn't come with secret love messages. I looked at her, sleeping peacefully, unaware that her world was about to collapse. Then, with a deep breath, I entered the code she had once casually mentioned months ago. It unlocked. My hands were shaking as I opened her messages. And that's when I saw everything. At first, it was just words, a long string of texts with an unsaved number. I scrolled up, reading them in reverse, feeling my stomach twist more with every sentence. "I can't wait to see you again. Tonight was incredible. You make me feel alive. He has no idea. He's so clueless." Each message was another knife in my back. And then I saw the photos. Intimate, private, pictures she had never sent me. My hands clenched so tightly around the phone, I thought I might crush it. But the final blow? That was the video. My finger hovered over the thumbnail, my breath shallow. I didn't want to see it, but I had to. I tapped play. The screen flickered, then filled with her face. She was laughing, holding the phone close, lying in someone else's bed. And then she spoke. "My boyfriend is such an idiot. He has no idea that while he's sleeping in our bed, I'm having fun here." The room started spinning. I felt like I was going to throw up. The pain should have been unbearable. The heartbreak should have broken me. But all I felt was rage. I looked at her again, lying peacefully beside me, completely unaware that I knew everything. My mind cleared. My shaking stopped, because I knew what I had to do. She thought she could betray me and get away with it. She had no idea that by tomorrow, she would be the one who lost everything. I sat there in the dark, my wife sleeping soundly beside me, while my world fell apart. The phone was still in my hands, the screen glowing like a cruel spotlight on my misery. The messages, the photos, the video, proof that the woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted, had turned me into a joke. My boyfriend is such an idiot. He has no idea that while he's sleeping in our bed, I'm having fun here. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. I should have felt pain. I should have been heartbroken. But all I felt was rage. Not just at her, at myself. How long had this been going on? How many times had I kissed her, touched her, slept next to her, while she was sneaking around behind my back? How many times had I believed her excuses, trusted her lies, let her manipulate me into thinking everything was fine? No, I wouldn't be a fool anymore. I put the phone down carefully, making sure everything looked untouched. She stirred slightly, but didn't wake up. Good. Let her sleep peacefully one last time, because after this, her life would never be the same again. The next morning, I woke up before her. I had barely slept, my mind racing with everything I had seen, everything I was about to do. But I kept my face neutral. She yawned, stretching beside me, her face soft and peaceful. "Morning, babe," she murmured, pressing a lazy kiss to my cheek. I forced a smile. "Morning." Her phone buzzed. She grabbed it quickly, instinctively, like she was hiding something. I already knew what it was. She glanced at the screen, then at me, forcing a casual tone. "Just work stuff? Liar." I nodded. Busy day? She sighed dramatically. So much to do. Meetings, emails, the usual. Another lie. It took everything in me to keep my expression calm. She was looking me in the eye, smiling, pretending everything was normal. Like she wasn't cheating on me. Like she hadn't spent the night texting another man, planning the next time she could sneak off and betray me again. If I hadn't checked her phone, I would have believed her, and that made my blood boil even more. But I had to play this carefully. I couldn't just explode. That would be too easy for her. She had to suffer. She had to feel humiliated, broken, powerless, just like she had made me feel. So I smiled. Well, I hope your day goes well. She kissed me one more time before heading to the shower, humming softly. I watched her go, my fists clenched at my sides. She had no idea what was coming, and that was exactly how I wanted it. The first step of my plan was information. I needed to know exactly how deep this went. How long had she been lying to me? Who else knew? And most importantly, who was the guy? I waited until she left for work before grabbing her phone again. I already had her passcode. I went deeper this time. Messages, emails, social media DMs. She was careful, but not careful enough. She had deleted a lot of messages, but some were still there. Hidden conversations in secret apps, messages sent through encrypted platforms, but not erased completely. And then I found his name. A contact saved under a fake work name. A name that meant nothing to me. At first, until I cross-checked the number online. Until I realized who it was. And that's when I saw red. Because it wasn't just some random guy. It wasn't just a coworker. It was someone I knew. Someone close. Someone who had smiled in my face, shaken my hand, pretended to be a friend. My entire body went cold. This wasn't just a betrayal. This was war. I wasn't just going to expose them. I was going to destroy them. My hands clenched around the phone as I stared at the name on the screen. I knew this man. He wasn't a stranger. He wasn't some random fling. He was someone I trusted. The realization made my stomach twist. Every conversation, every handshake, every moment I had spent with him, it had all been a lie. He had looked me in the eyes, smiled at me, acted like a friend. And the whole time, he was fucking my wife. I forced myself to take slow, deep breaths. Not yet. I couldn't let the rage take over. I couldn't just confront her and scream, no matter how badly I wanted to, because that would be too easy for her. She had to feel what I was feeling. She had to lose everything. I took screenshots of everything, the messages, the photos, the video. Then I dug deeper. I wanted to know everything. How long had this been going on? Where had they met? Who else knew? The more I found, the sicker I felt. Messages dating back months. Secret hotel bookings. Fake work trips. Excuses I had believed. And then, something even worse. There were conversations between her and her friends. They knew. Not all of them, but a few. A handful of people in our circle had been covering for her. Lying to my face. He's so clueless. I don't even feel guilty anymore. You deserve to be happy, girl. If he's not giving you what you need, why not? Just don't get caught. It's not like he'll ever check your phone. I almost laughed. They thought I was a fool. They thought I would never find out. They were wrong. I spent the next 24 hours putting together my plan. The first step? Silence. I acted completely normal. If she suspected anything, she might start covering her tracks, deleting more evidence. She might warn him. I couldn't let that happen. So I kissed her goodbye in the morning. Told her I loved her. Watched her leave, knowing she was probably texting him before she even reached her car. She had no idea that I had already started tearing her world apart. The second step? Gathering more evidence. Screenshots weren't enough. I needed more. Something that would completely destroy her. I went through our home security footage. She didn't know that our system had cloud backups. And that's when I found it. A video. The timestamp was from 2 weeks ago. A night when I had worked late, coming home exhausted, collapsing in a bed without another thought. The front door camera caught him arriving. The living room camera caught them kissing. The bedroom camera, our bedroom, caught everything else. I had to stop the video halfway through. Not because I couldn't watch it, because if I did, I might actually kill them both. No, I couldn't let emotions take over. This had to be cold, calculated, precise. I made copies of everything. Backups. USB drives, emails scheduled to send at the right moment. And then I started making calls. A family dinner, a big event, something she would never suspect. I invited everyone, her parents, her closest friends, even some of mine. And most importantly, him. She thought she had fooled me. She thought she had gotten away with it. But in just a few days, in front of everyone who mattered to her, she was going to lose everything. The night of the family dinner was set. Everything was in place. She thought it was a romantic gesture, something thoughtful, something sweet. She had no idea that it was a trap, that by the time this dinner was over, she would wish she had never met me. I played my part perfectly. The morning of the dinner, I woke up early and made her coffee, just like always. She kissed me on the cheek, completely unaware that I had seen everything. "I love you," she said. I smiled. "I love you too." A lie for a lie. I watched her as she left for work, probably sending him a message the second she got in her car. She had no idea that by the end of the night, she would lose everything. The restaurant was perfect, classy, intimate, private. I had rented out a large dining area, ensuring that once the doors closed, no one was leaving until I was done. One by one, the guests arrived. Her parents, her closest friends, and him. The bastard walked in, shaking my hand, patting me on the back like we were family. I forced myself to stay calm, to keep my expression neutral, even though every part of me wanted to break his face. And finally, she walked in, smiling, beautiful, pretending to be the loving wife. She kissed me in front of everyone. I kissed her back, pretending I wasn't about to ruin her life. Dinner started normally. Wine was poured, conversations flowed. Laughter filled the room. But then, when the timing was just right, when she was at her most comfortable, I stood up and tapped my glass. Silence. Everyone turned to me. "I just want to take a moment to appreciate my wife," I said, smiling at her. "She means the world to me, and I think it's only fair that we all celebrate the love and trust that make a marriage strong." She beamed. She actually thought I was about to praise her. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone, and to show how much I love and trust her, "I'd like to share something special with all of you." I pressed play, and the TV behind me lit up. At first, the screen was black. Then, the footage started rolling. It was her, in our house, with him. Gasps filled the room. Her mother's hand flew to her mouth. Her father's face turned red with rage. Her friends stared in horror. And her lover? He went pale. The video played on, moment after disgusting moment. Their whispers, their laughter, the words that had shattered me just days before. "My boyfriend is such an idiot. He has no idea that while he's sleeping in our bed, I'm having fun here." The final nail in her coffin. I turned to look at her. She was frozen. Her breath came in short gasps, her hands shaking, her face drained of all color. The room was dead silent. Then her father stood up. "You disgusting little..." He couldn't even finish a sentence before storming out. Her mother started sobbing. Her friends? Some of them left. Others just sat there, staring at her like she was filth. And her lover? His fiancé, because yes, he had one, was already taking off her engagement ring. She threw it at him, her voice shaking with rage. "We are done." The ring bounced off his chest and landed on the table with a dull clink. That's when my wife finally broke. Tears poured down her face. "Please, please, I can explain." I laughed. "Explain?" I asked. "You weren't explaining anything when you were calling me an idiot in our own bed." She collapsed into sobs, but I wasn't done. I reached into my jacket and pulled out an envelope. I slid it across the table to her. Her hands trembled as she opened it. She read the first few words, divorce papers. Already signed, already filed. I leaned in close and whispered, "Pack your shit. You have until tomorrow to get out." She sobbed harder. I straightened, looking around at the destruction I had caused. And for the first time in days, I felt peace. Without another word, I turned and walked out. She wasn't my problem anymore. I walked out of that restaurant without looking back. Behind me, I could still hear the chaos. The murmurs, the gasps, the muffled sobs of my now ex-wife as her entire world collapsed around her. But none of that mattered anymore. I had done what I came to do. She thought she could betray me, lie to me, make a fool out of me. Now, She was the fool. He wasn't doing much better. His ex-fiancée had stormed out moments after throwing her engagement ring at him. I heard later that she sent everything to his boss, ensuring that his professional life crumbled just as fast as his personal one. But my ex-wife? She had lost even more. She had lost her family. She had lost her friends. And most importantly, she had lost me. I didn't go home right away. I needed air, space, time to breathe. I found a quiet bar, sat at the counter, and ordered a drink. As I stared at the ice swirling in my glass, it finally hit me. It was over. The sleepless nights, the gut-wrenching suspicion, the emotional torment done. I had spent so long drowning in betrayal and anger that I had forgotten what it felt like to be free. And yet, something still felt unfinished, because ruining her in front of everyone wasn't enough. She had humiliated me in private. I had humiliated her in public. But there was still one last move to make. The final blow. I left the bar and drove home, my mind razor-focused. She wasn't back yet. She wouldn't be for a while, not after that disaster of a dinner. But I wasn't waiting. I had already packed her things. Every single item. Her clothes, her shoes, her jewelry, all of it. I had changed the locks that morning. And for good measure, I left her one final gift on the porch. A box. Inside, a neatly printed stack of every message, every photo, every video she had sent to him. A reminder of what she had thrown away. And on top, a single note. You're his problem now. By the time she arrived, a pathetic, sobbing mess, I was already inside. I watched from the window as she saw the box, her face twisting in horror. She banged on the door. Please let me explain. I didn't answer. She tried calling my phone. I let it ring. I stood there, watching, as she finally understood what it felt like to be ignored, to be thrown away, to be unwanted. Then, finally, after what felt like an eternity, she picked up her things and left. She had chosen her path. Now, she could walk it alone. And I was finally free. The morning after she was gone, I woke up and felt something I hadn't in months. Peace. No more waking up next to a liar. No more pretending everything was okay. No more wondering if I was just being paranoid. My house was mine again. Her scent was gone from the pillows. Her clothes no longer cluttered the closet. The weight of her deception had been lifted, and I could finally breathe. I poured myself a coffee, sat by the window, and let the silence sink in. It wasn't loneliness. It was freedom. And as I scrolled through my phone, checking the aftermath of last night, I realized just how deep the damage had been for her. Her life had completely fallen apart. Her family disowned her. Her father had called me after the dinner, voice tight with rage. I don't know what to say. I raised her better than this. I'm sorry, son. Her mother? She had left the restaurant in tears. Someone told me later that she refused to take my ex's calls. Her friends? Half of them had turned their backs on her. The ones who had covered for her? They were too busy trying to save their own reputations. And her lover? Gone. After his ex-fiancée exposed everything. Asterisk, asterisk, the texts, the videos, the proof of their affair. Asterisk, asterisk, his life crumbled. He lost his relationship. He lost his job. He lost everything. He had made his bed. Now he had to lie in it alone. Meanwhile, I was moving forward. The first thing I did? Hit the gym. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't about proving anything to anyone. I just needed to feel strong again. Every push, every lift, every drop of sweat, it wasn't just physical. It was a reset. I was rebuilding myself. Then I started reconnecting with old friends. People I had lost touch with because I had been so wrapped up in my relationship. I started going out more, meeting new people. And that's when I met her. Not a rebound, not a distraction, just someone real. She was nothing like my ex. No games, no secrets, no lies. Just honesty, laughter, and the kind of connection I had forgotten was possible. I wasn't rushing into anything. I wasn't looking for love. But for the first time in a long time, I felt hope because I hadn't lost anything. I had escaped. And now, I was winning. Months passed, and life moved forward. The weight of betrayal, the sleepless nights, the rage that once consumed me, all of it was gone. I had walked through fire and come out stronger. And her? She was still burning. I didn't keep tabs on her, but the occasional update found its way to me. I heard that she had tried reaching out to old friends, but no one wanted to be associated with her. She had tried to date, but word had spread. People knew who she was, what she was. She was no longer the woman with a perfect relationship, a loving husband, and a stable life. She was just a cheater who lost everything. And my ex-brother-in-arms? I heard he had tried to rebuild, but his reputation was ruined. His ex-fiancée had publicly exposed him, and the fallout followed him everywhere. Some betrayals? People don't forget. And I moved on. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. I had built myself back up. I had found peace. And I had found someone better. A woman who wasn't a liar. A woman who didn't play games. A woman who reminded me that love isn't supposed to hurt. One night, as we sat on the balcony, watching the city lights, she leaned her head on my shoulder and asked, "Do you ever think about her?" I thought about it, about everything I had been through. Then I smiled. Who? Because in the end, I hadn't lost anything. I had gotten rid of the trash. And now, I was finally, truly free. The end.